Property owners in New York City who rent their units out on Airbnb are facing some of the most strict new regulations on Airbnb and other short term rentals in the entire country. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. All right, so I have an interesting article for you today, and it's going over a topic that I don't cover very often because I am not a subject matter expert, and that would be Airbnb and other short term rentals. Okay, so basically, what people are doing is they're using either units that they own or sometimes units that they are renting, and they are putting them up on these short term rental platforms and creating kind of like a temporary hotel room. And people are making good money doing this sort of thing, okay? And I have no problems with it whatsoever. My personal belief is that a property owner should be able to do what they want to do with a property that they own. However, a lot of jurisdictions, they are not happy with these short-term rentals, okay? They don't like them. They believe that short-term rentals are actually hurting tenants who are looking for long-term housing. They believe that short-term rentals in residential neighborhoods are disruptive to the other people living there. And so they've tried to implement a lot of laws to make it much more difficult to have a short-term rental. And if you do, some places are even trying to outright ban them, okay? And so, if you do have one, though, they're trying to make it so you have to apply for licenses, pay certain extra fees, basically strip every single bit of profit they can out of the person who is hosting it, right? But this sort of thing, it's been coming for years. It's been coming for years. A lot of property owners who deal with the short-term rentals, they already know about this stuff coming. And obviously, New York is one of those places where they want to control every single aspect of being a property owner there. Whether you own a long-term or a short-term rental, they don't want something that's unregulated and that they can't tax the heck out of. So yeah, they are really trying to crack down on this right now. I don't know if it's going to work or not. That's yet to be seen. But for now, it looks pretty grim out there for those property owners who own short-term rentals. So before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like and subscribe button. Maybe leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think. So do you believe that new short-term rental regulations are going to be detrimental to landlords? Do you believe they're still going to be able to operate their businesses within the city? Or do you believe that this is just basically the end and the short-term rental business is going to be dead within New York City? I mean, I'm just curious what other people think out there, okay? And I'm going to cover more details of exactly the new regulations they had passed and what it means for these short-term rental landlords. So anyway, let's get into this article and see what it says. This article is coming from housingwire.com, and it says, Airbnb listings plummet as New York cracks down on short-term rentals. 5,300 existing reservations could be affected during the first week of enforcement. And so, yeah, the biggest problem is a lot of people, they schedule their short-term rentals way ahead of time, right? And then they implemented this new law. So, yeah, a lot of people could be affected by this. I'm not exactly sure what is happening with these people. This has already started. This has already taken place. But anyway, let's get into the article and see what it says. Thousands of New York City Airbnb listings are vanishing from the market as the city introduces some of the strictest regulations in the U.S. for short-term rentals. Starting on September the 5th, right, which, today it's Tuesday, September the 5th, so it started today, hosts of short-term rentals will need to register with the city. The Wall Street Journal reported Airbnb hosts will have to meet several new requirements, including not renting out an entire apartment or home, and being present during guest short-term stays. Airbnb estimates that 5,300 existing reservations would be affected during the first week of enforcement, according to an August legal filing. There are around 10,800 illegal short-term rentals across the city, per municipal government estimates. They already had a lot of regulations on short-term rentals, and there were already a lot of landlords who were operating outside of the law. I'm sorry. I guess I should use the proper terminology. Somebody got on me last time I covered Airbnb. I kept calling them landlords, right? Because that's what I consider them to be. There are already a lot of hosts who are operating outside the law within New York City. Okay. And unfortunately, this legislation or this regulation, the only thing it's going to do is force more hosts to operate outside of the law because it is an overbearing regulation. You think about it. I mean, what they said right there, you have to register with the city. Okay. Now, I've heard specifically from Louis Rossman, who runs an excellent channel, that dealing with the city in general is a little bit difficult. Okay, it's a little bit more than difficult. It is darn near impossible, and it is a nightmare. But registering with the city usually means you have to pay for licenses and jump through all sorts of crazy hoops on top of that. But then the other thing they said is you cannot rent out an entire apartment or home, and you have to be present during your guest short-term stays. Now, that's a little bit crazy to me, okay? Because a lot of these are, big buildings that are owned by, like imagine I'm a landlord, right? I own 16 units, right? My units are not physically even close to each other. And imagine if I was a short-term rental host and my 16 units were, short-term rentals, right? Well, my units aren't even close to each other. I don't want to have to be up in the place with, like I am a innkeeper, like no, that's not the way. That's not. It completely defeats the purpose behind short-term rentals, right? And so, like I said, they're going to implement this new law, and the only thing it's going to do is force people into either the black market, where they can't easily be tracked through applications such as Airbnb, or it's going to force people out of business, right? And those apartments and those units that are being used for short-term rentals right now, it's not like they're going to suddenly be affordable housing. Okay, they're probably going to be in areas that are more popular, more expensive, and because they are in good shape, they're going to be pretty high cost rentals. So I doubt that this is going to provide the city with the number, like it's going to increase the number of housing units available for people who need affordable housing. That is a complete joke. And if that was their intention, they're just dead wrong about it. I don't know how many units that Airbnb takes up within the city of New York, but I'm pretty sure that even if every single unit that is an Airbnb right now became long-term rental housing, it would not solve the affordable housing shortage within the city. I am 100% sure of that. Okay, that because that is how short they are on housing units. And just like when I think about, they said they have 13,000 rent controlled units that are being held off of the market right now. Even if you brought every single one of them back online, it would not resolve the problem. Okay, the problem is a lack of development caused by too much government regulation. And this is just additional government regulation that they're throwing on top of things. And it's going to make development even harder. But let me continue with this article. New York City short-term rental registration law took effect March 6th of 2023. It prohibits rental companies like Airbnb, VRBO, and Booking.com from processing transactions for unregistered rentals. Airbnb has called the rules a de facto ban on short-term rentals. And that might be the case, right? Those booking companies might not be able to officially list these properties anymore, right? But what you will start to see is that, oh, well, you know what? Now we just have to look on Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist or wherever people are looking outside of these listing platforms in order to find short-term rentals. Okay. So people will still have their illegal short-term rentals up listed for people to rent. They will still be making money, but they will no longer be able to use Airbnb to do it. So the rental platform might be a loser, but a lot of these short-term rental hosts will not go out of business because of this law. And it will be darn near impossible for the city to enforce these rules. Okay. They might find one or two targets here and there, but we're talking about tens of thousands of units here. Okay, it's going to be very, very difficult for them to, basically flag all of them and remove all of them from the market. Not only that, but people have found ways around these sort of laws for a long period of time. Like, oh yeah, you have to register it with New York, or it can't be on the platform, right? But imagine like if there is some sort of a workaround where you could be like, oh well, the property is actually in Jersey City. Like you look on there and it shows the property being in Jersey City, but then you read into it and it gives the New York address. So some crazy stuff like that. I'm just saying that creative people have always found a way to get around these sort of laws, and that New York, they're fighting an uphill battle against people who are making good money with properties that they own or that they have control over, right? And that they should have the right to do with as they please. Okay. And the only thing they're really hurting is they're hurting the consumers, because consumers have less choice. And you know what? If you have a problem with loud noise or parties coming from a unit, you need to go directly after that one host who is, or the guests of the party or whoever is causing the problem. Okay, you don't need to go after every single, the other 99.9% of hosts who are doing everything right. This is my gripe, because they do the exact same thing to landlords. They pass these laws that hurt all landlords because you have one bad one. Well, that's just dumb. Okay, that's just dumb. I don't like this sort of stuff. We'll see what happens with this law, but the writing has been on the wall for quite a while when it comes to Airbnb, that local municipalities, they want to regulate it. They want to basically end it in a lot of places.